that she
You've put lipstick on, haven't you?
Yeah.
So you look fresh and I look...
You look fresh.
You look fresher.
Put this pillow in a weird position.
Oh, shut it, Glenda. Right, here we go. Hello, everyone, and welcome back. We are so excited to talk to you about this subject today. But first, let's introduce her. Suvi Honkanen, hello.
Hi, guys.
How are you today?
Good.
Are you excited to talk about this?
Very.
This very deep subject.
Very excited.
We'll be talking about Vaganova, everything to do with food, and mostly what the food was in the first place, as well as how did the teachers approach the food subject towards students.
What was the culture around food and dieting?
Yeah, the culture around food and dieting, I like that.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about it. So, we've arrived.
We're
in the Vaganova school.
Yes.
It's breakfast time.
What do we do?
What do we do?
We don't go to the canteen.
Well, actually,
You did.
I did before. Okay,
Yeah.
so Suvi arrived 2 years after me, and so she was late to the party.
The party started when I got there.
Okay, but basically, initially I did what I thought everyone was supposed to do, which was go to the canteen.
Yeah.
And when I went to the canteen in the morning, it was okay. I love the Vaganova, as everyone knows, but it was quite depressing. It was really, really dark. Walking out to the canteen in the morning. It's also like the last thing I want to do is actually go somewhere. Like I want to have breakfast, like in bed or like in my room. I don't want to have to leave.
Right.
You know. What are you laughing at?
The last thing I want to do is go somewhere.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a slow. Like I get up early, but
You're
I'm
a slow snail.
Slow snail. Like
Yep.
take my time.
Yeah, this is true.
As you know, I did my makeup with the lights off, so it's just like those lights are going on last minute. So yeah, so I went to the canteen and almost nobody was there. So I found that already red flag. No one's here in the first place. And then what is the choice of breakfast here? So it was kasha, porridge. Porridge, you know, it's quite sloppy.
Yeah.
And then it was a piece of white bread with a slab of cheese on top. And it wasn't even toasted. It was just like white bread, quite dry with cheese on top, and then a yogurt.
Yeah.
So everything was beige for a start. And, you know, and so I would eat on my own this little piece of cashew and cheese. I would say the food for the breakfast was the best of the day, though.
Yeah.
The best of the day. Because, you know, you can't, how wrong can you go with porridge?
Exactly.
Like it really can't be that bad. And they're actually quite renowned in Russia for their porridge. They have like 7 different types, don't they? Kasha ovsyanaya, kasha semolina, no?
Yeah.
Kasha. But you no? You've forgotten them.
I don't know
And
what
the rest of them.
I don't know what they're called in Russian, but
and the
rest of them.
Yeah. So anyway, so that lasted, I don't know, several weeks, but I was having the lunch as well and the dinner.
The dinner.
So you never had the lunch, right?
No.
So the lunch was options of soup and buckwheat. So the you know, the buckwheat, the grains, the brown
like rice
grains.
kind of.
Sort of, yeah, but like sort of thicker.
Yeah.
And meat, which was often like, they weren't slabs of meat. It was like bolognese type.
Right.
But no sauce either. So it's just like a bit dry.
Yeah.
And then there wasn't much greens either. So again, very beige.
Yeah.
It was like soup, and it wasn't ever sort of puree type soup. It was like water with vegetables in it, like a broth, along with the buckwheat and the meat. And then, or it was pasta, but again, no sauce and no kind of greenery anywhere, which I always found it really surprising, because I was like, we're in a ballet school and obviously the girls around me are so strong.
Yeah.
I'm like, what are they eating then? Because their muscles are like really strong, fiery, bulging muscles.
Yeah.
But like it's not sort of vitamin heavy. There's like no sort of nutrient dense foods like greens or anything.
Yeah.
And then next to the canteen, there was like a little shop.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. And the woman, I was like a regular there until a teacher said something to me once, but we'll get to that. And then the sort of shop, they sold apple juice and bulichkas.
What was that again?
Which were like the pastries. They were like the buns.
Oh.
And it was almost like a sort of like a hot cross bun, or sort of like a glazed croissant type thing, or a scone type thing.
I remember that, yeah.
I used to get a bulleczka every single day. It was like the highlight. I would have the lunch and then be like, cool, that was dreadful. Let's wash this down
with
a bulleczka. Yeah. And then it was just like really sweet and enjoyable, and to have that for sort of the snack.
Yeah.
So that was the lunch, and then the dinner was basically the same.
Yeah.
But I got really sick.
Yeah.
You're not supposed to drink the water in Russia.
Oh,
and
no.
I think it's something to do with the soup, but my tummy was not happy for like the whole time I was there. So
Yeah.
I think I lost like 2 kilos
Yeah.
within like a month.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was like, wow, I'm feeling sort of like
Weak.
I'm losing,
Yeah.
strength and things like that. So that didn't last long.
Yeah.
And then, sorry, we'll get to when you eventually joined.
No.
So then
when the party starts, yeah.
when the party starts. Well, this is the thing. I could feel her in. I was like, Suvi, you're not going to the canteen. So then I noticed people like Keenan Camper, who was there, who was like my big sister
Yeah.
that I looked up to. I don't know whether she even knew that that's what she was to me, but I really looked up to her. She was never going to the canteen. And I was like, what's going on here? She knows something. She was cooking her breakfast. She was cooking her lunch. She was cooking her dinner. And she had like scones. She had scones in the freezer from Whole Foods in the USA that she would like ship in from her dad would ship them in. They'd be in the freezer, locked. And her dad worked in like the post office or something.
Yeah.
Or she had one of those mailroom sacks.
Oh.
That you can like tie and lock. So she had like 30 scones in this bag.
Which was you later.
Which was like, everyone was stealing her scones basically because they were so good. But she also only bought the dough. So they weren't cooked scones.
Oh.
They were like raw scones.
Interesting.
So she often would just eat them
raw.
Like cookie dough.
Goals.
Yeah, they were amazing. And one time she gave me a scone as like a present, and it was like the highlight of my day. That says something.
Week, possibly.
That says something, doesn't it? When someone gives you raw dough, this is the highlight of my week.
This is the best thing that's happened to me in 5 days.
Like, yeah. But so basically very quickly, I started to get more into nutrition, because I was not surviving in these ballet classes at all. I was like, I'm dying. I'm so tired. I'm exhausted. Like, I have some friends who are in the school now.
Yeah.
And they do text me, like they have, especially when they first joined, like for help.
Yeah.
And similar, like so exhausted.
Yeah.
Like knackered.
Yeah.
So yeah, I got super into the routine of like, well, we can talk about exactly what we ate, but we have spoken about this before. But then I had to be so careful. As you know, when we started to go to the supermarket.
Yeah.
But it started when I was there 2 years ago.
Yeah.
You know how I brought my suitcase?
Yeah.
Well, so I brought my mini suitcase because I didn't want to carry. Like the last thing you want to do is carry for half an hour.
Exactly.
And a week's worth of food.
You wanted to bring enough food to last you the week that you don't have to go every day.
100%. And it was far away.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we were too exhausted in the week. But, the Russian people are very proud people, and they get offended very easily.
Yeah.
So I had to be careful, because when we were carrying the suitcase, the security guard was like, where are you going? Where's the suitcase, huh? Where are you going with this suitcase? And I was like, I'm just going to the shop. And he was like, shop? Why this much? And I was like, because, shoulders are... have to protect for the ballet.
I want to keep my shoulders down.
Yeah, don't want big muscle. And so yeah, but every time I came back in with the suitcase, I would get this look of disdain, like, you're here with the suitcase. But sometimes if the director saw me, sometimes she did, it wasn't Al tonight, it was the other one, Vera.
Yeah.
When she saw me with the suitcase, she would be like, asking me about the suitcase, and I was like, my mum's visiting and stuff. But they would get obviously very upset if they knew that I was not eating their food.
Yeah.
So you have to be so careful.
Yeah.
But do you remember I used to also, slightly sidetracking, get cat food for the cats.
Wait, I do remember that.
Yeah. So the courtyard we were in had like 30 cats in this school courtyard. We could hear them like screaming at night every day. And they got so used to me bringing them food that every time they heard the suitcase, every time they heard the suitcase roll, 30 cats would come running to me. And I'm like, this is just my dream. This is my dream right here. Like, I am the cat whisperer. And I would buy them whiskers, but I wouldn't buy them loads. Like, there's only so much room in my suitcase. So I'd buy like maybe 4 packets and then just dump them down. And they were just like, oh, go crazy. They loved it though. And do you remember the tiny black one?
I do.
The tiny one who was like always being attacked.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So fast forward. You've joined.
Right.
Okay. So I'm here. It's my 3rd year. I have my routine.
You're locked
down flawlessly. I'm locked in. It's working for me. I got my whole routine, which you guys can watch on our day in the life video.
Yeah.
On YouTube.
Yeah.
You've arrived. What's your routine?
I don't have one.
Okay. Okay.
I'm lost.
So what's the first thing you do when you get here though? Did you ever go to the canteen?
I did. I went twice with Maria Panova.
Maria Panova. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
So there was this girl from Germany who was half Russian and she spoke Russian flawlessly. And she'd been in St. Petersburg many times. So I was kind of, I went with her a couple times to the canteen because she ate in the canteen. The first time was for dinner. And I just remember, again, like, we're so privileged to be in a school that offers food. You know, just saying.
They feed us here. Be grateful.
Exactly. But I opened a lid and there were these like pink sausages swimming in like salt water. And I was like, no.
Is that for breakfast?
No, that was dinner.
Oh, dinner.
Yeah. And then pasta, but dry. Nothing.
Yeah, nothing.
And I was like, well, yikes.
Yeah. What did Maria think? Because obviously she's half Russian.
She was loving it.
Loving it.
Yeah.
Ah.
Yeah.
Hot dogs in water.
Yes.
Plain pasta.
Very good.
Ah, вкусно. Очень вкусно. Yeah.
So I remember I ate like a bit of pasta and I was like, I can't survive this. And then I went the next morning for breakfast and there was the porridge.
Which is fine.
But I remember the porridge being quite sweet.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Like they put sugar in it.
Yeah. And then there was the white bread and then the slab of cheese and a slab of like...
See, nothing changed 2 years later. Still
like
the same.
A slab of like salami. Like pink, thick.
Very like processed meat.
Yeah. And you can like
again,
see...
I'm like, this is ballet school, no?
Yeah. And
surely...
you can like see the, you know, the rings of like fat. Which...
Yeah.
Take a thumbnail of that.
So, you lasted 2 days.
Well, I wouldn't even say 2 days. I lasted 2
meals,
2 visits.
Really?
Yeah.
And then Maria was like, Suvi, time for breakfast.
She was like, do you want to go? I was like,
nah, I'm done, mate.
No,
I'm done. We're done with this.
Yeah.
Look, Isabella next door is not going. Yeah. I'm going to find out what she's doing.
What she's doing. And then I was like, this crazy lady has locked in scones in the freezer. You did what Keenan did.
Oh, yeah. No, I copied Keenan.
And somebody stole your scones.
Someone did. I lost my nerve.
Mm-hmm.
No, because my scones were not as good as the Whole Foods USA. We had Whole Foods UK.
Right.
But they were good, though. They're just such a good snack.
I think you gave me a scone once.
Probably.
Yeah.
Once you'd passed the test of friendship,
I remember I
awarded
ate it.
A scone.
Yes, I did. You did give me a scone and I ate it straight from the freezer. It was cooked, but it was really good. Like cold.
So, a frozen scone.
Yeah.
When we say scones, they're not normal scones. They're not like these small, like things you get in afternoon
huge
tea. They're like massive, cake worthy, full of chocolate chips.
Oh, so good.
So good. So good. So good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But basically we weren't that close yet, obviously, because it was just the beginning of the year. And then we started...
Did you all ask me? Did you ask me like, listen, I've been to the canteen. I've noticed you're not going. Did you say this? Or were you like...
I don't think so. I think I just went out, but I didn't know where a good store was. So I just went to some random kiosks. And I was like, ugh. And then maybe, I think you were like, hey, I go to the store on Fridays. Do you want to go to Lend with me? Wasn't it Lent?
Yeah, it was Lent. Yeah. I think it was Saturday though.
Oh, Saturday. Yeah.
Because we still had a whole day.
True. And then I was like, sounds good. And then we started going together on Saturdays. We called it the trip to Everest. And
yeah, through the snow.
Yeah, through the snow.
And then you're like, oh, you got a suitcase. Where are we going?
I was like, why do you have a suitcase?
You're weird.
You're weird. And the Honey Crunch. Remember, I always got the Honey Crunch apples.
Honey Crunch apples.
You always got a mango.
Yeah, as a treat. And
as a treat.
Were you there when I went through my ristorante pizza phase?
No.
See, that ended because comments were already made.
Wow.
I used to have as a treat on a Saturday, a huge mango and a pizza, not in that order.
That's so classy.
It was massive pizza and then a juicy mango, but massive. You know, it was just the best.
That's so funny.
I know, it's weird, isn't it?
You took me once at the beginning of the year to a restaurant.
Did I?
On a Saturday.
Date?
Yeah.
So took you out on a date?
Yeah.
Where?
I don't remember, but you had been there before many times. You knew this place. And we ate so much food, like pasta, garlic bread.
Not on the corner. Like the restaurant. No, I know what it was. Terraza.
Maybe.
Was it on a roof?
Yes.
Yeah. And they have everything there.
Everything.
Every cuisine.
Yeah.
It was Japanese.
Yeah.
English. I
had like a creamy mushroom pasta.
Yeah. Did we go with anyone else? I think we did. Was it just
No,
you?
it was just us.
Okay. So fun.
Yeah.
Okay, so hang on. So we're in school, right?
Yeah.
I have had some comments said to me before from teachers. Not much though, in terms of dietary comments. Like you need to change something up. Up until that point, I think when you arrived, nothing had really been said to me. I just was trying to be healthier. I was still eating like quite a lot of chocolate, and I was having a pizza, on the weekend and stuff. And whilst nothing was wrong with that, I was very much like in shape.
Yeah.
I almost found that it wasn't helping me build. Those foods were kind of like a bit wasted because I was really required to build a lot of muscle for my long body.
Right.
Like I was prone to being like soft in the muscles up until that point. So yeah, that's why that happened, not from someone telling me that needed to change.
Right.
Until, later something happened, which we can get into. But you first arrived, and would you say your diet when you first arrived was like normal? Or was it always like a little bit you were conscious of stuff?
It was a bit like this because I had I had already had an eating disorder before I came. And I had lost a lot of weight, and then summer holidays I gained a lot of weight. So when I gained, well, not a lot, but some. When I came to the school that year, I was in the state of I need to lose weight.
Right.
So I was very conscious of what I look like, and I should have focused more on just getting stronger than looking skinny. But I was just eating a bit like unregular and like. Not enough on the weeks, then too much on the weekends, like this kind of, just not a good consistent amount of nutrition. Yeah, I would say. And then, Sitnikova said to a couple of us, shall we go into this now? Did they call us fat? Did they make us lose weight?
Yeah, at the Vaganova.
Yeah.
Because also in most schools, I would say it's a subject. It's a very sensitive topic to tell a young, growing person that something needs to change with their diet, and a lot of that. And when those comments are raised, it should come from a place of, we want you to succeed, and this is going to help you, be in the shape that you need, is required for a ballerina. But, obviously, the opinion that someone has of what is in shape needs to be realistic and supportive of the healthy human being in front of them,
Yes.
But at Vaganova, obviously, Russian ballerinas in general are very thin.
Yes.
The body type is long and thin. They don't really, I would say, correct me if I'm wrong now, but I don't think they favor so much the athletic look.
Yeah.
They prefer the sort of ethereal very
Definitely.
slender, slightly fragile look.
Yeah.
You know? Which isn't necessarily a good thing. It's just
how it is.
How it is.
Yeah.
And so along with that, their culture is to be very blunt with their feedback.
Yeah.
And so it is very much sink or swim.
Yeah.
And a lot of people will disagree with that. And it is tough. But for us, I think, you know, not that we would ever speak to somebody this way. No. We understood it.
Yeah.
And we weren't sort of, I don't know, personally damaged by it. Although telling someone they're fat, for example, which happens quite a lot in Russia, is hard to swallow. So in terms of our class, what do you remember? Well,
yeah, about the bluntness, it's just like they say how it is. They just say, you're too big or you look too skinny. And that's just a part of the culture. My personal opinion is that I don't think you should ever comment on a growing, like a teenager. That's just how I think it should be, because they're going through changes, and I think every person deserves to, I don't know, have like peace with that going through that with the body. Having said that, what happened or what I remember was that in the beginning of the year, she told maybe 4 of us that like you and you too big.
Really?
Yeah. I remember specifically who they were.
Oh my God. You can't say.
I can't say.
Tell me afterwards.
Yeah, but I was one of them.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And then
wait. What studio was this in? When was this happening?
This was in the studio where we have the pictures taken with Malakov.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I thought you were going to say that.
Yeah.
Piero Venice.
Yeah.
And was I already moved?
Moved where?
As in, was I already in the center then?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So it was like one of the first days?
Not the first days. I would say first weeks.
Fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, but she moved me, I think, pretty soon.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
So I remember she just said it like you and you too big.
Too big.
Yeah, like this, or fat, or whatever the word was. And then of course doesn't feel very nice.
What did she say though? Just you're too big, or did she say anything like you need to do this?
She said later, she said that you need to, she gave this as advice, which don't take this advice, that drink tea with some sugar.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or eat the same color. Okay. Remember? Every night. Like choose orange, and you eat carrots and an orange bell pepper and an orange.
Salmon, that's kind of orange. Salmon, especially when it's dyed.
Or red apple, you know, whatever. Like this.
That's
don't
ridiculous.
You remember this?
I don't. I seem to remember her saying the same color thing.
Yeah,
which was,
I specifically remember that because I was like asking you obviously to translate it for me.
Oh, I translated that for you.
Yeah.
So I said, oh, she said, eat the same color.
And I was like,
yeah. So only blue food.
Only blue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe that's why the canteen's all beige. So how did you feel?
When she said that?
Yeah.
I felt like the biggest failure, of course. I was like,
did you cry?
Probably. I cried on the phone to my mom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, okay. So listen, by the time I got to... Oh, no, actually, no. It was in this year that I was told. Yeah. So basically, you know...
Snowflake time.
You remember? Yeah.
I was so worried about you.
Really?
Yeah. Because
you have such a good memory.
Yeah.
Tell me what you remember, your perspective on it.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
I remember that you were eating very well, like you had your routine, and it seemed like you were eating nutritious, healthy food, and you were very, very thin, very in shape, in my opinion. And
not as thin as I got though.
No.
But yeah, I was in shape.
You were in shape by all means, and never in a million years would I have thought that you should look any thinner.
So up until that time, the snowflakes was probably the most important role I'd done. So I took it really seriously. And because it's so many jumps, I was struggling with the energy required for it. So I started to do more athletic things, which maybe wasn't necessarily required, but I was taking the gels like the glucose gels for extra energy. And I was also having like Snickers bars.
Yeah.
But like I often wouldn't have the whole thing. And they were maybe the small ones.
Yeah,
like
you'd have like a
half
couple
of
bites.
one, couple of bites. Because I felt, well, I was researching and I read that those kinds of things can give you like a real boost in the moment.
Yeah.
And it's not like I would have that every day.
Yeah.
But I would have it before the big
Rehearsals.
things.
Yeah.
Like the big rehearsals
Yeah.
or whatever. And obviously, I actually felt I looked really good.
Yeah.
At that time. I didn't think I looked big.
No.
I thought I looked strong.
Yeah.
Like my muscles were sort of showing.
Yeah.
But
I remember then after some rehearsal, I can't remember if we had already like started rehearsals at Mariinsky, because we had some rehearsals on the like the little, not the proper
the fake
stage.
one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or if it was studio runs, but basically like you were a bit more serious someday, and I was a bit like, are you okay or something? And then you're like, yeah, I'm fine, a bit more quiet. And then you told me probably the next day, like, yeah, Gennady told me that I need to lose weight, that I look too big. And I was like, what? And you didn't cry with me, but I'm sure you cried with your mom on the phone, or I don't know, did you?
I'm sure I did.
Yeah.
But I mean, being told, he basically said, and this was very, very hard for me because I was so obsessed with being perfect. And like, I was a major perfectionist.
Yeah.
Which was, to my own detriment.
Yeah.
But
it was a big blow for you.
Yeah. And he was old school.
Right.
He didn't understand. Like, he was just thinking about the standard numbers. So he was saying to me, he asked how much I weighed.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
I told him how much I weighed, and I was like mid-50s, 50 kilograms. I was like 55, something like that. For someone who's like, I'm like 5'10", 1.7, what is that? 177 centimeters, 1.7.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. And so he was like so shocked. He was like, what? And I was like, yes. I was like, what's wrong? What's wrong with that? And he was like, 55? He was like, 55?
Terrible.
And I was like, yeah. And I was like, oh my God, I'm so embarrassed. I'm like mortified. I'm obviously just an elephant. So fat. That's what I thought.
And that's nothing.
Nothing for someone of my height.
No.
Like for someone who's like Kyun-chan's height. You know Kyun-chan?
Yeah.
She was like 40 something.
I'm small. I'm shorter than you, and I've been 55 kilos.
Yeah, but again, it's just like,
yeah.
But in the standard Russian book, that says how much you weigh. What is it? It's 50 kilos.
Yeah.
50 kilos. And so he basically decided that everybody, no matter how tall you are, needs to be 50 kilos.
Right.
So he said to me, 50 kilograms. That's what you need to be. So I was then like, crap.
Yeah.
Like, I need to lose 5 kilograms.
Yeah.
And so, guys, obviously, you are kind of mortified. In ballet in itself, you're standing in front of a mirror every single day, especially when you're a teenager. You're not very confident about yourself. And now all you can think is, I'm too big.
Yeah.
I'm too big. And so, obviously, then I wouldn't say I starved myself. I didn't do anything majorly damaging to myself. Like, I didn't have bulimia or anything that some people do, which is terrible. But I became extremely like strict and like obsessed with my weight, obsessed with it, like weighing myself in the morning, in the evening, like really not healthy patterns at all. And and then both of us, Sydney Kova said something to you, I said something to me. I got down to 51. Bear in mind, our own teacher, Sydney Kova, had said nothing to me.
Yeah.
She had not said to me, you're too big. She hadn't given any inkling that there was something wrong.
Yeah.
But he had decided.
Right.
And obviously I respected him. He was a ballet master at Mariinsky. I bowed down to him. Like, I listened. And I didn't really notice what was happening, like how thin I was getting.
Yeah.
But you did, right?
Yeah.
Tell us about that.
I started to get worried about you because he told you that like not that long before our Christmas holiday.
No.
Yeah. But I already saw that you were much lower in energy, like just during the Nutcracker, and like less, less making jokes and just a bit more like.
Which, that says something.
Yeah. Yeah. And then during the spring, my God, I was so worried about you because just like you were looking so thin.
It's funny, isn't it, how quickly that happened?
Yeah.
That really didn't take very long.
And then Sitnikova also said like you look dead or something.
No, this was then the horrible thing.
Yeah.
With Sitnikova, I was rehearsing Corsair, I think.
Yeah.
And you were there, right?
Yeah.
Do you have such a good memory. We were in the rehearsal and I did it fine. Yeah. I don't think there was anything going wrong. But then she was like, Isabella, she's like, you look anorexic.
Yeah.
She was like, your legs. She was like, your legs are like pencils or whatever. She was just really like horribly blunt.
Yeah.
But like in the complete opposite direction.
Yeah.
But by then I was so fixated on, no, I have to be this number.
Right.
I wasn't even 50 kilograms. I was like 52.
Yeah.
But because I was my height, I looked so skinny. And I didn't even realize how skinny because you just don't when you're...
No, you don't see it yourself.
And I felt... The thing is, though, I was starting to do well.
Yeah.
As well. I was starting to, like, achieve more in class. And get better opportunities. So you then associate. You associate this how I look and my thinness with success. Like, I'm only being successful because of how I look now.
Right.
This is the reason.
That happens very easily.
Yeah, it's very common.
Yeah.
But then the real... clincher for me when I was like, this is just like insane now. I've kind of given myself so much like hell.
Yeah.
Is when I was practicing in the studio at night. Maybe you know this, I must have told you. I was practicing in the studio at night, as usual. And Gennady walks past. And he came in the room and he was like, how are you? How are you? And I was like, oh, I'm fine. He was like, listen, what's wrong with you? He was like, what's up? Like, you look anorexic. Like, what's going on?
And then you were like, you told me to.
I was literally like, what? Like, it's like, I'm not even 50 kilograms. I didn't say that, but I was like,
yeah.
I was just like, I didn't even say anything. I just looked down and I was like, I think I went like this, like, there's nothing I can do. Like, this is literally I'm done what you've told me to do.
And now you're unhappy.
Now I'm too thin. I'm not even at your number yet.
Yeah.
So it's kind of...
Which... This is a good opportunity to say that just because someone tells you should be this many kilograms or you look to this or that doesn't mean that you should take it as the truth.
Gospel.
Yeah.
But it's also so you can't really, you just can't say that to somebody.
No.
Number one, my bones are probably heavier than most people's.
Yeah.
That's why, like, at 52, I probably, or like 55, I still looked very thin.
Yeah.
But I was 55 because probably my bones are heavier or there's more muscle on me. I'm taller.
You should never give a number to someone. No.
I didn't, honestly, the fact that I hadn't even matched
his number. Imagine if you were 50.
I'd be ill, like really ill. I was still
terrible.
Yeah. So the real clincher for me though was when I then was replacing Olga on stage doing the humpbacked horse thing, and I felt awful, to be honest.
Yeah.
Like, I had no energy.
Yeah.
And I was looking at this huge, the huge Mariinsky stage, and it felt so overwhelming.
Yeah.
I was like, how can I engulf this stage with like,
yeah.
I honestly felt like I had no resources on my body to like really take up the space.
Yeah.
I didn't have the muscle.
Yeah.
And that's when I realized, I was like, you know what? Anyone's opinion means nothing. This is the most important thing to me, doing a good job and actually being able to perform and show what I've got on stage. And if I can't do that,
then what
is this all about?
Yeah.
What am I doing?
Good realization.
Yeah, no, honestly, I had a moment.
Yeah.
I was like, no one's going to tell me what I should be from now on. Like, and then I remember watching an interview with Ekaterina Kondarova from Mariinsky, and she actually said that she's the same height as me, and she's very beautiful and very slim but muscly. And she said, I never wear myself. I go by how I look and how I feel, you know, and I think that's how it should be.
Yeah.
But how did you find talking about how the teachers dealt with it, you know? Number one, did you just kind of understand, look, this is how it is, you know, this is how they speak here?
Yeah, I mean, I've had Russian teachers my whole life, so it was nothing new to me, honestly. I've been told that before as well, and I've heard teachers talk like that, so it wasn't like, oh, so straightforward. But
it's hard.
It's hard
because
to
I know
hear.
a lot of people watching, like I'm sure you guys watching, you're like, that's horrible, that's brutal, how dare they, you know. But it's kind of just, I know one shouldn't necessarily accept it. And in any Western culture, I would not. And they don't. And they don't say that here. But
which is a good thing, I think. But yeah.
It is a good thing. It is a good thing. But there's just something about when you know how they are, when you know how the Russians are and how they teach and just what their culture is, it is kind of just, it's not a case of you accept their comments, but you accept who they are and how they relay information.
Yeah.
You know.
You're just like, oh.
You're like, cool, there it is.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
You know.
Yeah. She told me when I came back from the Christmas or the winter holiday.
Oh.
She told me, and you had to translate it to me again, that I look like I've been enjoying too much of my mom's cooking.
Oh, no.
And then she was like, Isabella, translate. And then you were like, you look like you've enjoyed too much of your mom's cooking.
God.
And I was like, Isabella!
What a friend you are.
Yeah. But then that's when I started to go crazy.
I can't believe I translated that.
Should have been like, you look great.
Yeah.
She said you look great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's horrible.
Yeah.
She was brutal.
She was.
But then if we were too thin.
Yeah.
Like I got too thin. Amy got too thin.
Yeah.
She was like,
we had a lot of girls in our class who got too
very thin.
And I think that's a bit of a, like, why did that happen? Why did so many of us?
There was a lot of us who got too thin.
Yeah.
There was you, there was me, there was Amy, and there was Ksenia, there was Arena.
Oh, yeah.
Or was it Alina? Arena. And yeah.
That's it, yeah.
That was it. But 5.
Yeah.
5 of us.
I think 5 out of like what? 10?
12.
12?
Yeah. That's a lot.
Something's maybe, yeah.
I think how you broach the subject.
Yeah.
How it's, because, you know, especially on a young mind.
Yeah.
You're so influential to what authoritative figures that you look up to say.
Yeah.
You know, so it's no wonder that I noticed Ksenia was like then only eating like pumpkin seeds.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
And it's like we're doing this such hard thing.
Yeah.
We're expected to perform.
Yeah.
Really well.
Yeah.
Have energy to do it every single day, day in, day out.
Yeah.
I don't know how we did that.
Yeah.
You were eating a Honey Crunch apple for lunch.
Dumb.
Nothing else.
Yeah. And then I was like, oh man, I lost my jump.
Yeah.
It's like, well, yeah. But yeah, a lot of people always ask, like, do they watch what you eat and do they weigh you? And I wouldn't say they watch what we eat or weigh us, but they just are very blunt about what their opinion of our body is. And then they just kind of leave you to it. They might give you some advice like, don't eat this or that, or drink some tea with sugar before class, or, you know,
so you don't faint.
Eat the same color. They might give some advice like that.
Yeah. But I would say, you know, to look at it the other way, so it's not all terrible.
Yeah.
When Sydney Curver noticed that I was like, you know, very thin, she often said to me, I think she said something like, to be another Jarat, Isabella.
Ah, yeah.
Which I was like, what the hell does that mean? And I looked it up and it means gobble. She was like, Isabella, you need to gobble your food.
Yeah.
Like this.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay.
In a way, they're straightforward about that as well. Like,
everything they're straightforward about.
Yeah. And also, Sitnikova always said you're, like, well, not always, but I remember once she said that you're first a woman and then a dancer, which I think.
Oh, she said it to me?
No, everybody? She said it to, I think, everybody. I think so.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Meaning, how would you translate that?
I understand that as it's important that you, your body is functioning in a way that a woman's body functions, and that you like first of all you're a person with
hips. Is that what you mean?
No, I don't know if she naturally
person
meant
with functioning healthy hormones.
Yeah,
stuff like that.
That's how I would see it, maybe, and maybe also as figures, like a figure, but that's your first, and then comes that you're a dancer.
I mean, what I found always surprising was obviously when I started to lose weight.
Yeah.
My hormones completely went. So like no menstruation, nothing.
Yeah.
You know, and obviously that's not healthy.
No.
As a ballet student, though, you don't care. You're like, great.
Yeah.
One less thing to worry about. But
your bone density thinks otherwise.
My bone density got low. Very low. Very low in my hips and in my lower back.
Yeah.
Which subsequently I injured.
Yeah.
And so, you know, health is number one.
Yeah.
But what I found so surprising, and I don't know again if it's part of their culture, was despite the Russians being very thin, they all had functioning hormones.
Yeah.
And every month you would have like a group of girls sitting out of ballet class because they were quite health conscious. They wouldn't force us to dance if we had our period. So you see the girls sitting under the piano.
Yeah.
You know, which was nice. Although we never sat out, did we?
No. We could have if we lied, but
no. But even if we did actually have functioning hormones,
we didn't
sit out.
Yeah.
No, we were like, we can't possibly. I've got too much to improve on.
Yeah.
But then talking about like what you said, first a woman, then a dancer. I think Sinikova really didn't enjoy when I was in my like very thin phase.
Yeah.
Because basically I looked like a 12-year-old girl.
Yeah.
You know. And when she was fitting me.
Oh, yeah.
For the corsair costume. It was so mortifying. I had to go to the costume room and like try on this tutu. Like, oh, you know, basically I had to like undress in front of her and like put everything on. I was like, oh God, she's like, anyway. And then obviously like I was completely flat chested because there was like nothing of me.
Right.
So thin. And then she's like,
you look like a boy.
She was like, she put the tutu on and she was like, could see there was like nothing.
Yeah.
She's like, we need to put some padding in here. We need to put some, you know, some boobs here, basically. And I was just like, oh God. So I was like, it's so like almost it's quite traumatizing. You know, you have people telling you left, right, and center, lose weight, 50 kilograms.
Yeah, look like this. Look
then
like
your
that.
teacher says you look anorexic. Then she's upset you don't have boobs.
Yeah.
Then, you know.
Yeah.
And so it's just this constant struggle of like, what do I need to be in order to succeed?
Right.
So then it's just being, I think, you know, knowledge is something you need to really focus on, making sure you're extremely knowledgeable from a young age as a dancer.
Yes.
You know, study up, read about how to have a healthy body as an athlete. What do I need to do? What's an optimum weight for me? Mm-hmm. Especially for sort of athletic sports like gymnastics and ballet is similar. Like you have to be slender whilst being able to perform crazy things. Yeah. So and taking things into your own hands.
Don't believe everything that you're told. And not everybody's opinion should be listened to necessarily.
No. And I do think things are changing. Most of these opinions came from, you know, very old school teachers who have been around a long time who, you know, did things by a certain way. Whereas now with people like you and me or similar ages around the world who are, you know, growing up into this more authoritative role, we have a different approach. Yes. Number one, we remember what it was like. Yes. And we want to also protect young minds, self-esteem, and be able to help them in a way that doesn't destroy them. Because otherwise you're breaking them down. They're never going to be a successful dancer.
Yeah. But in general, I would still say, although there was this really like this bluntness and strictness about what should you look like, still the main focus was on being strong rather than thin.
100%.
That's what I felt in the end. It was just that the way things were said sometimes for young minds, especially when you're not like, you don't have a nutritional therapist helping you, you're kind of left alone easily, and that leads to unhealthy eating habits. But I would still say they didn't glorify thinness like probably many people think that they do. They still, I would say, it was strong, like being strong was emphasized more than being thin.
100%. And when I first joined, those were the girls that I looked up to.
Yeah.
Like Olga Smirnova was always like a beautiful shape.
Yeah.
There was never a moment, her and Christina Chapran, like all of those girls.
Yeah.
They were never like, oh gosh, they look so thin. Whereas there was definitely a period you looked at me and was like, really thin.
Yeah.
You know? And strength. And I think that's something I realized, like I said, with that story of being pushed on the stage and just not feeling like I can take it up. So strength and health is number one.
Always.
Yeah. And actually, the stronger you are, the more you can push and work, and the more you're inclined to turn into that ballerina shape that the work does, you know, with the lines and everything.
Yeah.
So guys, thank you so much for watching. Hope you've enjoyed our very honest stories there.
Yeah.
And let us know in the comments, you know, what are your thoughts on this in a kind of diplomatic, respectful way, but also give us your honest feedback. Have you ever dealt with this from teachers giving you this blunt feedback, and was it relayed to you in a nurturing, kind way, or in a way that made you have issues with your self-esteem following it, which definitely impacts, I think, your whole career.
Yeah.
So let us know. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this kind of content, let us know as well, because we'll be happy to answer more deep chats and have conversations like this. So we'll speak to you soon. Bye for now. Bye.